Hey, 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 welcome, welcome, welcome to another episode of Brand Marks the Spot. It's Tuesday at 11, and here we are live for you. And this show is all about how branding and design can help you grow your business. And we talk about all the things you can do to implement branding and design strategies into your business so that way you can present yourself more professionally and connect with more people. So I'm your brand buddy, Patrick Sesko, if you don't know me. And again, this is Brand Marks the Spot. And this episode is we're going to be talking about why you don't need a fancy logo when you're first starting your business. And I know it's like, hey, I'm a brand designer and I'm telling you, you don't need a fancy logo. So we'll find out why. But before we get started, this episode is brought to you by, and this ties in nicely, by my Nail Your Brand Colors and Fonts workshop. Currently, this is a live workshop, so I'm going to be launching this again probably in early September. But wanted to just let you guys know, if you want to get on the wait list, this is where we're going to nail all your colors and your fonts. And I'll even teach you how to create a simple logo for your brand. And there's a whole bunch of bonuses as well. So get on the wait list and I'll notify you when that comes up. And let's get going with the show. And of course, I always need to make sure that we're live because, tech issues are never fun when you have tech issues. So let me just make sure. All right, good. Sound quality sounds good. All right. So the subject of this episode is that you don't need a fancy logo when you're first starting out. And when I was younger and I was doing a lot of branding for smaller businesses or people starting businesses, I would get a lot of people that came to me and say, hey, I need a logo for my business. I'm starting this business. And, at that time I was charging $1,500 just for a simple logo, not even a simple logo, but more a conceptual logo. And, we would go through rounds of changes and multiple iterations. And I mean, time and time and back and forth, 2 months later, the logo's done. They give me their money and crickets, meaning that they never actually even got their business off the ground. And what happens is a lot of business owners, and I'm seeing this too in the online space with online entrepreneurs, is that people are just like, I'm going to start a business, I need a logo, and they go and find somebody to do a logo. And what happens is there's really no strategy behind that. Yes, you can find a good designer and you can spend the money. But if you don't have the strategy behind it and you don't have customers and you're not making money, I don't think that it's a good use of your resources, because when you are first starting out, especially if you're an online entrepreneur, you are probably DIYing everything at that stage. And, $1,500 for a logo, that money can actually be better spent doing things like building your audience or building your platform, or, education for yourself, bettering yourself through courses and learning new things, and not spending the money on a fancy logo. Now, look, I mean, I love a fancy logo. Don't get me wrong. And I'm not saying that there's not a place for that. But when you are first starting out, it's really not the way to go, because, like I said, you're strapped for cash in this early stage of your business. And, and your business is going to evolve from the day you start through to a year later. So, I mean, I've seen so many people who start businesses and a year later, their businesses look completely different. So if you spend all this money on creating this fancy logo, um, and your business changes, it's another waste of money. So think of it that way. And what I always tell people is just to create a simple text-based logo. And some people would say, oh, well, that's a cop out, or that's not unique. And when it comes to like a personal brand specifically, a simple logo is actually fine. Even you look at some of the biggest names in the online space, your Amy Porterfields, Brendan Burchards, they all have these simple text-based logos. They're not fancy. Even Marie Forleo, same thing. It's not about the logo. It's about the personal brand. So the personal brand is sort of the culmination of all the things. It's, how you talk, it's what you say, it's your messaging, it's your visual look and feel, your colors and your fonts. And it's that sort of whole persona that is the brand, and it's not just the logo. Now, like I say, there is a place for a fancy logo. I love fancy logos. I love clever logos. But if you're just starting out, do not spend or waste your money on doing that. And a side note, and I've also talked about this before in another episode, is about crowdsourcing. Well, what about crowdsourcing sites? I can go, your Fivers, 99 Designs and all those kind of crowdsourcing sites, and I can spend anywhere from $5 to, $200 to get my logo done. You can do that, I'm not going to stop you. And that's, there's a market for that. But there's a couple of problems with doing that. And that one is those designers typically are not going to incorporate any kind of strategy behind a fancy logo. It's more just going to be decoration. And then it's just not, it's not a strategic thing. It doesn't have meaning. And it's just more for visual prettiness, for lack of a better term. Secondly, these crowdsource sites, because what happens is you put in a contest or whatever, and you get like 100 people doing different versions of the logos, and then you pick the one, and that person gets paid the whatever $150, $200 or however much it is. Meanwhile, the other 99 people do all this work and then they don't get paid. So just from a value standpoint, from my personal values, I think people should get paid for their work, with the exception of when somebody's up and coming, maybe they can do work for free. But I feel like these people are being taken advantage of, just so we could save a buck. And that's not really helping anybody, right? That's more self-focus. It's more self-fulfillment. So, and then lastly, in these types of crowdsource sites, because quantity is more important than quality, because the more submissions somebody puts out, the better chances of their logos getting chosen, and thus them getting paid. But the problem with that is that because it is such a quantity game, it's a numbers game, that there is a lot of rampant theft. And I'm talking about intellectual property theft or copyright infringement from other logo designers who are legit, or just other brands. They just bring these logos in, change the name, and then submit it as their own work. And what happens is somebody uses that, then they build their website, they build their social media presence. If they print anything, all that's money is spent on that. And that kind of puts your business at a liability, because if the person who owns the original artwork finds out, they can tell you to take it down, and you could be potentially liable for a lawsuit. So it does happen a lot more than you probably can imagine. And I know a lot of logo designers specifically who have had their work stolen, to the point to where they even have a Facebook page dedicated to all the theft that's happened to their work, because they have a long career. So anyways, I digress on that, but that's a big value of mine. But in the beginning, just start with a simple text-based logo. Nail your colors and your fonts. And, like I said in the beginning, I showed you the workshop that I do, and this kind of helps you with all that. You can nail your brand colors, your brand fonts. And then in that workshop, there's a bonus on how to create a simple text-based logo by using one of the fonts that you've chosen, and then doing some minor adjustments to those things to kind of make it a little bit more unique than just typing out your name. Now, you can do the typing out of the name and do that, and that's fine for the beginning, because what's most important is just that consistency of putting yourself out there with, no matter what the logo is, whether it's a fancy logo or whether it's just a text-based logo. It's all about getting that consistency out, and it's all about having it look professional. So your colors should always be the same, your font should always be the same, and your logo should always be the same at the very minimum. And that's what that brand colors and fonts workshop is. I'll pop that on here just so you can see it. Get on the wait list. It is a live workshop. That's why it's a wait list. And I'm revamping it a little bit for this fall, or early fall, probably September. I'll be running it. And it's probably about 90 minutes to 2 hours. And I walk you through your colors and your fonts. There's bonus trainings on how to create a text-based logo, as well as how to create and expand upon a color palette and selecting your fonts. There's follow-up Q&As, and there's workbooks and all those things. So get on the wait list, and I will be reaching out to you soon when registration opens. It's probably going to be $47. And I mean, it's really, you can't beat that price, frankly. for the value that you get. So check that out. And again, if you're just even beforehand, if you're just starting out, just get a simple text-based logo to start your business. It'll save you a lot of money. And then you can focus on growing your audience and growing your business. So that way, when you do get traction, you will have some money to say, okay, let's audit our brand and see what's working, what's not working, how can we improve upon it? And then you can invest a little bit of money into either, upping your brand strategy or hiring a designer like myself, or bringing in an agency, depending on where you are from a budget standpoint. And that's how it works, because the branding side of things is an evolution. Branding is not just the visuals. Yes, the visuals are sort of a visual representation of the strategy work that we do, but when you start out simple, it's easy to expand upon. If you get real fancy and then your business pivots, or maybe you're not reaching the right audience, or maybe the messaging is off, then you might have to go back and revamp all of that fancy logo stuff that you did, and then it becomes a waste of money. So that is all I got for you today. It's a short one. It's a bit of a rant, kind of, with the whole crowdsourcing sites. It is what it is. If you use that, just keep in mind that a lot of those people are not getting paid. Only one person is getting paid. So if that is a value of yours, that people should be paid for work, then, think about that. But then also think about lack of strategy, and then lack of integrity. So that's it for today. Just drop me a comment if you're catching this live, or if you are catching the replay. Just give me a hashtag replay so I know you're watching. That's always helpful, and it makes me know that you're watching. And that's it for today. We'll see you next week. We'll talk to you later.